I'm joined by University of Central Oklahoma punter Bo Phelps. Bo, thank you for taking time this afternoon to come on and talk to me. Could you start by telling the viewers and listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm a punter here at the University of Central Oklahoma. Grew up in Piedmont, Oklahoma. It's about 30 minutes west of Edmond. Grew up playing basketball and baseball. Started playing football in middle school. And from there, just kind of fell in love with it and got the opportunity to play in college.
Now, have you always been a punter throughout your whole football career?
Yeah, I'd definitely say so. My dad was a 4-year starter at the University of Tulsa as a punter, and then I had an uncle that was a 4-year starter at Bowling Green, so it was kind of in my blood. So from the time that, even before I was actually playing football, I was out in the front yard punting footballs.
Now, so I would imagine in those post games might have been kind of tough.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh, yeah. There have definitely been some conversations that haven't been great, but they've happened.
Now that first in-game punt for you in middle school. Now, were you nervous at that point, or were you cool? Like, what were you kind of feeling?
It was definitely more of a cool thing. By the time I was in middle school, I'd punted 10,000 footballs in my lifetime. So it was good. But middle school was definitely interesting because you play with the smaller, thinner balls. So punting's already hard, and then you make the ball a lot smaller, and there's less area to kick the ball. It probably wasn't great. I wish I had stats from back then to see how that went. But from the memory, I was the greatest thing ever in middle school.
So now having to punt on those smaller balls, has that now helped you with a regular size football?
Oh yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of it, they kickers and punters, a lot of it's mental, being able to do the repetition and stuff like that. So, you're in middle school and, you're not hitting what you see, in the NFL or even in college guys doing. And then you get to high school and college and you start kicking a real football and it starts doing what you see other guys doing. You're like, all right, this is cool. I can do this. It's all good. But yeah, it definitely has helped. It has definitely helped.
Yeah. Now that first varsity game in high school. Now, were there nerves there at that point? Because you were amongst the big boys at that point. Like, if you mess this punt up, it's going to hurt your team.
Oh yeah.
And it's meaningful.
I had two different head coaches in high school, freshman and sophomore year, and then the new coaches came in junior and senior year. And I believe it was my sophomore year was the first time I punted, and there was a junior above me that they did have punting, but I ended up getting to punt. And there's something different about going out there with guys that are way older than you. Because like even today, I've played a full season of college football and I'm still 18 years old. So there's guys out there that are in their mid-20s, sometimes even older. And there's a little bit of nerves that go with that, but it's also kind of reassuring that like, hey, I'm supposed to be out here because I wouldn't be out here playing against guys that are way older if I didn't have the talent to do that. But I would say nerves are a big part of it, but that just means you're ready. Being a little bit nervous just means you're ready for
it. And how long would it say for you to it took you to kind of find your groove?
I think, it takes one good ball. It takes punting one good ball in a game to get in a rhythm, and that can last you years. That can really set you up for, a big season in the sense of numbers wise. But yeah, one good ball just to get a little bit of confidence. It's, a lot about confidence. And once you hit that one good ball, you're like, all right, I got this. It's all good.
Now, I know when I talked to your former kicker, Alex Quevedo, he talked about he had a checklist when he went to kick before the ball was snapped. Now, do you have like a similar process where you got to make sure that X, Y, Z is in order before this ball is snapped in order for you to get a good punt off?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. My whole thing was already, you go out there and the first thing you got to know is the down and distance. You got to know, is it 4th and 7 or is it 4th and 20? And then make sure you got 11 guys on the field. And then it was really just I don't know if you keep up with basketball much, but I always tried to do, the Russell Westbrook free throw, and then, you're standing back there and you're ready for it. But yeah, that's kind of my thing, a good deep breath and then just be, be athletic. You're a football player. You're an athlete just like the rest of those guys out there. And, muscles don't work when you're, holding your breath, when you're tense, things like that. So really just breathing and focusing on, all right, I'm about to kick this ball. Do good.
And when guys are coming at you, because they're coming to block that. So there's not only a small window, but like you have to focus on getting that punch while guys are heading to destroy you in a sense. So like, how do you kind of do that? I mean, because that's kind of a lot to focus on in a very small window of time.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only position where, guys that are running, 4.3, 4.4s get to run as fast as they can right at you. And, you guys try and hold them up a little bit. But, I played quarterback in middle school and high school. So I think that helped a little bit, knowing that, okay, guys are trying to stop you from doing something that, you have to do. And you try not to focus. You try not to focus on, what's coming at you, but, trust that, your shield guys can protect you and, the upfront line that they're going to hold them up for a second. And then, trusting the gunners are going to get down there by the time, the ball is caught. So it's a lot about trust. Definitely a lot about trust.
And like, so in terms of like hang time now, how, like, is there when you punt, do you kind of know if a punt's going to get sufficient hang time, or if you kind of hit like a knuckleball? Like, do you know?
Oh, for sure. You can tell right off your foot if the ball is going to be, a good ball or not. I had, growing up practicing and stuff like that, my dad would always be like, don't even look up. You'll know off your foot if that was a good punt or not. You don't even need to look at it. And that's another thing that, the jump from high school to college that, I think a coach would rather have, especially a defensive coordinator, a coach would rather have a 40-yard punt that gets fair caught and not returned anytime, inside the 30 or 20 than, a 54-yard punt that doesn't hang as long and it gets returned for, 17 yards. And then, there's always that possibility that it gets returned for a touchdown, which that's like the worst case scenario.
And in games where there's high winds, because obviously you're punting in this state, the winds are brutal. So how do you kind of like combat that in those kind of high wind games?
Yeah, it's definitely you got to drop the ball lower as a punter. I mean, a lot of, the biggest thing about a punt is, the drop. And if the wind catches the nose at all and it moves left or right, it can be really bad. And we saw that a little bit last year. I'm not sure what week it was, but, I had like a 8-yard punt or something like that. It was really windy and it hit and rolled. I think that was the same week in the NFL where that guy picked it up and punted it twice. So when I saw that and it didn't get past the line of scrimmage, I ran up there and tried to kick it again. But, it really is brutal. And I don't think people that haven't punted before really know what it's like to have to do that. And it's, there's no excuses for it, but it's definitely a challenge. It's definitely a
challenge. And as far as like training wise, because a lot of wear and tear is kind of on their kicking leg. So how do you kind of, I guess, like manage that throughout the course of a season?
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of stretching, a lot of rolling out, a lot of ice baths, and it really is just listening to your body. They're like, just because I know you've talked to Alex, there would be times where if he was feeling banged up or nicked, he wouldn't kick as much, and that was a good thing. And it's really listening to your body because, if you've kicked 50 balls in a day of practice, kicking 50 balls the next day isn't going to do anything but hurt you. So it's really, regimenting how many am I going to kick today? How many am I going to kick tomorrow? How many am I going to kick the next day? So that you're really ready for Saturdays.
Now, because you mentioned that you also play quarterback now. So like, I know when you throw an interception, you got to shake it off. But I imagine as a punter, when you have a shank, you also have to shake it off. But like, how hard is that, I guess, coming back to the sideline after a shank, and how do you kind of put that behind you, knowing that you have to come out there the next time and make sure that it's not a shank again?
Yeah, it's really the best part. The best thing to do is just flush it. They talk about like, I played baseball growing up and through high school. You got to have a short memory. A lot of these sports that we play are games of failure, and it's, the only thing that is a little bit different about punting is, it's not like a defensive player making a bust and the offense getting 15 yards. Well, they get they get a couple more downs. They didn't score. It's stuff like that. So if I go out there and hit a shank, that's it. You got to just flush it and go on to the next one and make sure that you hit a good ball the next one. But the more you think about it, and the more you, the word that I would use is like stress about it, the worse the next one's going to be. So you just try and flush it.
Now, your senior year, you ended up being the top punter in the whole state. Now, what did that mean to you, knowing that you sat atop of all the punters in high school football in this state?
Yeah, no, that was definitely a big deal for me. I try and stay humble, but you look at guys that were punting in this state also, you got guys like Cameron Little, who's was the starting kicker at the University of Arkansas as a freshman. And there was another kid that's at Iowa State right now, kicking there. And it's just the fact to know that, you performed better than those guys is a confidence boost. And like I said a little bit earlier, the more confidence you can have as a punter, I think the better off you'll be, and the better you'll do.
Now, like during the season, were you kind of keeping up with those guys? Like, was it like a little like knowing that you wanted to top these guys? Was there added pressure to that, or were you just going out there each and every time, just trying to have the best punt possible?
Yeah, so my kicker in high school was, pretty good buddies with all these dudes. So I heard about how they were doing and stuff like that. I never really wanted to, that wasn't the goal for me. Like, of course I wanted to be the best, but I never, like, that wasn't the point. I wanted to do well for my team, to help win games. And here's my playing quarterback, I was a backup all of senior year and stuff like that. So mine was more, I could care less if I punted the ball 4 times and haven't had an average of 35 yards. If we won that game, that was all that mattered. So it really is I was more in the sense of like wanted to be selfless and was more worried about the team than I was my own personal stuff, which at first, I don't think I really was that. I think I was getting kind of prideful, and my dad was a big help in, kind of keeping me humble in the sense that, it doesn't matter what you do, but what's your team doing?
And so when you were looking at potential schools, I guess what about UCO made you decide that that's where you wanted to play your college football?
Yeah, my recruiting story is kind of a crazy, weird one. Specialist, it's kind of, down the list of importance for college coaches in recruiting. And so where I thought I was going to end up going was UCM. That was only the real, like, bigger offer that I had. And so I thought, I was going to go there. Their coach had come down for a family visit and stuff like that. And my whole thing with the COVID, my senior year and junior year were those COVID years. And so there were no going to junior days, and coaches really didn't come to like your schools and recruit like they can when, there wasn't a pandemic going on. But it was a Saturday afternoon, and I got a call from a random number, and I usually don't pick those up. And I did. And it was Coach Bobeck, and he was like, "Hey, how fast can you come over to UCO?" And I was like, okay, yeah, I can be there in 30 minutes. And went over there, and he had me punt some, and I had probably kicked 10 or 12 balls in front of him from one end zone, and we went down to the other one, and I hit 2 or 3 more. And then I hit one that literally, I think it was like 72 yards in the air, and then it rolled all the way into the other end zone. And he was like, "All right, we're done." And then I went home and got a call a couple hours later, and he was like, "Hey, we're gonna offer you a scholarship. We really want you here, and you're the only guy we're really talking to." And so I didn't really have plans. I hadn't really thought out, do I go to UCM or UCO? But I ended up telling Coach Bobeck right there. I was like, "All right, you know what? I like you. You're a good guy. I'm gonna take the offer and commit." And so yeah, it was more of like it felt right moment thing. And I really did like Coach Bobeck. He was a really good dude. And I was just excited to have gotten the opportunity to play college football, to be completely honest. That's always been a dream of mine. So that was a big reason why I committed here, is because I liked the coaching staff, and I honestly liked that it was close to home.
And so you get there, and you're battling Francisco Moreno, and Francisco, he ended up starting the first couple of games. Now at that point, now did you did you think there was a chance you would redshirt at that point, and were you kind of prepared for that if that would have possibly been the case?
Yeah, I had talked to my dad about it. I knew Paco started that first week, and then I ended up starting that second week at Emporia. But my dad and I had talked about it, and he was like, worst case scenario, you don't play, you get redshirted, you get a lot stronger in the weight room, you gain some weight and stuff like that, and that ended up not being the case. And I was grateful to have gotten the chance to play, and I was excited for that. But I was ready for either one of those roads that I was going to go down. Either it's not your time, work, get better, improve, or hey, you're getting thrown into the fire as a freshman, be ready to perform.
And so your first game, Fort Hays, not Fort Hays, Emporia, it was a road game. Talk me through that first punt. Were there nerves? Were you ready for it? What was that moment like?
I in my head, I thought I was ready, like really ready. And I went out there and hit that first ball, and it was a pretty good ball. And I remember kind of jogging off to the sides, and Bobek started screaming at me. He was like, faster, faster, faster. You got to get that ball off. And I'm like, Coach, I'm just happy I hit it, man. Like, I'm just happy I didn't miss the kick. But yeah, it was good. That game was crazy. I think I punted 11 or 12 times in that game. I had never punted more than like 5 times in a football game before. It was crazy how many times I kicked in that game.
Now, was the leg sore the next day?
Oh my gosh, dude. I remember we always had like Sunday lift and walk through, and I remember getting there and I was like, my right leg is numb right now. Like, it is tingly. I don't know if you've ever hit your elbow like on the corner or something, and it just kind of like just lingers. Oh, that's how my leg felt. It's horrible. But you just kind of got to push through it. You don't really have any other options other than just go.
Now, what would you say was your best game last season?
Oh gosh, last season wasn't really, what I wanted it to be. I was sick through most of the season last year. I got COVID a couple of times, still played. And I got diagnosed with mono, or tested positive for mono, like week 4. So I was like really low energy, and it wasn't, the season wasn't what I wanted it to be, but it was good experience and it was good teaching. And another big thing, it was good to be humbled in sort of ways. I think, God allows us to be, humbled in certain areas when we get prideful, not to hurt us, but to help us, in the sense of, it's not good to be prideful or arrogant. And I don't think you treat people really, as well as you should when you kind of hold yourself on a high horse. But best game, I think was probably, against Fort Hays. I had a bunch of fair catches that game, and I'm pretty sure I pinned them inside the 20 almost every punt that game. So that was excited, and I always like to joke about, as a punter, you want to be the defensive coordinator's favorite player. So that was always my goal.
Okay, now you mentioned that you battled illness throughout the season. So like some people might have just said, it's not my year, I'm gonna just pack it in. But you kind of pushed through that. So why did you feel the need to push through that and gut it out?
Well, I mean, there's always going to be adversity in life. I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes as a 7th grader. So, right as I started kind of my football journey, I got diagnosed with a chronic illness that, doctors are like, hey, you may stop playing sports. You may not be able to do this. And I think that kind of just instills in you just like kind of not really a work ethic, but just like a grind kind of mentality that, I can do this, even if it's, not great in the sense of performance, or, it's not really hurtful or harmful to you, but it's just not what you could be doing. I think that just kind of puts into your head, I'm going to do this for me, because I want to prove to myself. I don't care what anybody else thinks, but I'm going to do this for me. And that was kind of what it was. I didn't feel good. I was tired the whole season. But I wanted to do good for the team. I wanted to do good for the guys that had put a whole lot more work than I had, looking at guys like Keats Calhoun, I wanted us to do good for Keats, his last season. Alex, I wanted us to do good so that they could go out on a bang. And I know that's not really what we got, but there were a lot of guys that, deserve, guys like Dante McGee, upperclassmen guys that just deserve, those guys deserve to win. Those guys deserve the recognition and, the performance of, what we did. So it wasn't as good as we wanted it to be. But that's kind of my reason for pushing through. I don't ever want to be the person that holds people back and doesn't allow them to accomplish what they've worked for.
Now you mentioned you were told that you might not be able to play sports. Is it so? Like when you were told that, I mean, what was kind of going through your mind?
Yeah, at first it was a lot of just shock. I was a healthy, crazy healthy kid. Crazy athletic, and it ended up being that it's genetics for me. So I just tell people, I won the genetic lottery. I won the lottery. But yeah, doctors, and it's a lot of the time because they, some people like that, haven't played sports. They don't know what it's like. But it wasn't so much that they were like, you shouldn't, but it was like your health. It may be a little bit better for your health to have what most people would consider a normal life to be. But, that wasn't what I wanted to do. So I just, took it as, be smart about what you're doing. You got to be a little bit more mature now. And that honestly, it was definitely a blessing in disguise getting diagnosed because, I was a lot more mature than all the kids in my age. And that allowed me to work to my goals a lot better. And I think that's why I'm at where I am right now.
And so for those who might not know about type 1 diabetes, so like how like what's your day-to-day kind of like management of it?
Yeah, you want to keep it at a healthy level, and a lot of the things with sports is activity makes it go high, but if you're not careful with the amount of insulin you're taking, it can also make you go really low. It was like clockwork in high school for me. Every practice, like in between that practice, I was always down in a Gatorade in the middle of practice to keep my blood sugar up so I could keep going. Because in high school, for me, it was special teams, straight to offensive practice, and then they would have me go to the defensive side of the ball to I didn't really play, but just to just in case, did a little bit of stuff at corner and safety. But it was nonstop for 3 hours, and it was just making sure that you were okay. You can always fix a high blood sugar later, but it was always just making sure you didn't pass out and go into a coma on the field. But it's definitely just, trying to keep healthy, and it's hard, but it's definitely important to take care of yourself.
And how long would you say it kind of took you to figure out that routine, that balance that you say now is like clockwork?
Oh, I'm still learning. Every day is still learning because no day is the same, and you really just try to do your best and make sure that you're taking care of your body. It's no different than somebody that cramps easily, staying hydrated during the season. We've all got our own stuff that we got to focus on. So I would just say making sure you're doing the best you can and keeping your body healthy.
And now at the end of the season, Coach Bobek, he steps down. Coach Doral comes in. So when Coach Doral first met you all, first talked to you, what were your first impressions of him?
He's a great dude. I mean, he's a guy that players definitely want to play for, and I think that's one of the most important things that you can be as a coach, is somebody that can relate to the players and show them that you have their best interest in mind. And I think he really does. I think he really does embody that. He's very positive and that's helpful. I know parts of the season last time, guys were kind of down, like, man, this isn't going the way that we want. And I believe that with Coach Doral, say if playing a if game, but if Coach Doral's the coach last year, I think the locker room environment is a little bit more up, and guys aren't hanging their heads and things of that nature. but he's a good guy. He definitely cares about his players. And when we first met him, when he came into the player's office and the team room, everybody, of course, is looking up his name and looking up what he's done. And I think when people started to realize, hey, this guy's the real deal, this guy's done it before, that kind of lit a fire in a lot of guys' stomach to work even harder than we already were. And you can definitely tell like a change in the environment that is up there now at the field and on the team. Guys work a lot harder in the weight room. Coach Van Kuren is now able to push us a lot harder. And I think that new energy is making him excited to see. He said something the other day about, we're leaps and bounds ahead of where we were physically than we were last year. And if that is the case, and I believe it is, I'm excited to see how this season's going to go, if that's the case.
And then your special teams coach, I believe, is Coach Curley. So what has that been like learning from him, and how did it go working with him during the spring?
Yeah, so I mean, we do some things a little bit different than how Coach Bobek was doing it. A lot of it is the same, but Coach Curley is, he thinks punt is the most important special teams, and he wants special teams to be the best in the country. And that, that special teams wins football games in that sense. But again, he's very, excited, and he keeps us, kind of grounded in the sense that, here's what I want, get it done. And he expects the same of us as he does as wide receivers. You should be putting in extra work. You should be really putting it all out there because the team deserves it.
And on the individual level, how do you feel like spring went for you?
It was good. I felt, like coming over from last year being, just kind of sick just all the time. It seemed like I feel a lot stronger now than I did. And it may not even be like a heavy correlation with, getting stronger in the weight room, but just being stronger overall, like health wise and body wise. One thing that the coaches did ask, they asked us to kind of change how we punted in the sense of they wanted the time to be sped up a little bit. So I have changed how I punted from last year, and am trying to get used to that and speeding up the time and allowing it to be, to where guys aren't having to block as long so they can go down and cover. And Coach Curley's biggest thing is giving the gunners a chance to down balls. So, as we were talking about earlier, the hang time, that's a big importance. So I think I've, even like as I was saying with the diabetes, learning every day, I'm definitely learning every day how to get better and do what's asked of me in, a better manner for everybody.
Now, when you said that you had to get the punt off quicker, just like how much of an adjustment was that, and like, is it something that is going to take you like time to get used to, or do you think you kind of got a good grasp on it now?
Yeah, I think I've got a lot better grasp on it now. At first, as a punter, you hear, hey, I want you to change up how you do things, and you're kind of like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Am I going to be able to punt the same? But doing what your coaches ask is, it's part of it. This is a business for those guys. They're getting paid to coach football, so if they ask you to do something, you should do it. Same way if you have a boss and he asks you to do something, you need to do it. But I think I've definitely gotten a lot more used to it, just working on it by myself. And I think it's going to be really good come fall camp for us, here in the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to be interesting to see, full operation with full team, how much better I think I've gotten. And then the sense of, how much easier it's gotten to speed up that, process of punting a football.
Now, in the past, when I've talked to staff, I've talked to Lane, I've talked to Kellen, they talk about the importance of the quarterback-center relationship. Now, for you, how important is that relationship with the long snapper in terms of making sure that the punt goes off smoothly?
Yeah, so we right now we've got 2 freshman long snappers that, unless something changes, one of those 2 guys might be the one snapping. We've had some wide receivers snap in the past, so I'm not really sure about the long snapper situation right now, but it's definitely like, I kind of compare it to, the holder and the kicker. It's that trust that, this guy's going to snap the ball somewhere where I can catch it fast enough to where a guy's not going to be sitting in my lap by the time I look up to start, punting. And it's like it's a trust thing, but it's also, I don't think it's to the degree that, a kicker has to trust his holder, because once the ball's in our hands, it's all on us. But it definitely does. You definitely do have to trust him just to get it back to you.
And you mentioned holding. Now you're in running for that this year. So now what has that been like, and how do you feel like you've done so far?
Yeah, so I mean, I held all in high school, and and people think I'm crazy, but that's the most fun. That's the most fun I ever had in football was holding. It's a small part of it, but it's something that is enjoyable. There's a certain level of stress and importance of it, but I'm just trying to set up the guy coming to kick it to be in the best possible position to do well for himself. Always have laces out, get it down fast enough, put it right in the spot that they want it. But I'm excited for that. I'm hoping that that's also a job I get this year, because I enjoy that. I enjoy that a ton, holding.
And now we touched earlier about punting into the wind. Now, when the wind's behind you, does that also change how you punt the ball?
Yeah, that was one reason I think that I was as good as I was in high school, is just being smart, knowing what the wind does to a football. And as a punter, a wind straight at your back, it's not like a kicker where, it's only going to help you when the wind's right over your head at your back. It's really hard for a football to turn over, which is what we want as a punt. But, so if the wind's, straight over your back, might kick it a little bit higher and not really worry about it turning over and let the wind carry it like it would a kick. Or if you've got a wind over your left shoulder, you might aim a little bit left of where you're wanting to kick it to help that ball, when it does get up in the air, turn over and get that couple extra yards. But it's definitely knowing and playing the wind for sure.
And heading into fall camp, what do you feel like you need to improve on the most?
For me, it's going to be, and I think this goes for every punter that has ever walked this planet, is just being extremely consistent, bringing the consistency to where, all of us want it to be, 10 out of 10 balls that we hit are perfect spirals. They turn over, they have good hang, and they have good distance. So, that's always the goal, is to just always become more consistent. And for me personally, it's going to be to hit the marks that the coaches want on how fast they want us getting the ball off.
And I guess my final football-related question would be, what are your goals for the upcoming season?
And they're pretty lofty for me this year, but I want to net 40 plus yards this year. I want to be the best. I want to be the best punter in D2, but I want to be the best punter in the nation when it comes to college football as a whole. If you can net 40 plus yards, you're one of the best in the country. That just doesn't happen. And that, that goes with that is not kicking touchbacks, getting balls fair caught, putting it in a position to where, if you're ever kicking a pooch punt and you're trying to, get it pinned deep, kicking it high enough to where the gunners have a chance to, even catch it if you can hit it high enough, or down it before it goes into the end zone. But yeah, definitely net 40 yards a punt this year, and not get any blocked. I know that happened a couple of times last year, and that's always disappointing because, it kind of feels like it's, it really is your fault. And you kind of put that weight on yourself. I didn't get that off fast enough. So I would say those are my two goals for this year.
But before I get you out of here, we do this with all the new guests, kind of some getting to know you type questions. So,
yeah,
your favorite sports team?
Definitely has to be the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. Baseball. Baseball's always had a special part in place in my heart, and I love seeing dominant baseball teams, and the Dodgers have always been good. And I say Dodgers, but probably parts of the Angels too. Mike Trout, that guy's awesome, dude. Shohei Ohtani, those things it's so cool to watch guys that can play baseball at that level, and their peak time of playing baseball. So definitely the Angels or the Dodgers for sure for favorite sports team.
So your favorite hobby outside of football?
Oh, that's hard. You probably get a lot of the same, but video games are obviously way important as an athlete. You got to play video games if you're an athlete. So yeah, probably playing video games, playing some COD or some Apex Legends, for me.
Now, are we Xbox or PlayStation?
Oh, we're Xbox all the way. I know I'm gonna get hate for that, but man, dude, we're Xbox all the way.
You are, I think, the third person outside of Coach Curley and Coach Doral that's an Xbox guy.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's better console. It's the better console. There's no argument for it. It's better console.
Oh wait, now okay. So now why is the Xbox the superior console?
Bro, I mean, think about it. You got Xbox Game Pass. I don't see anything like that with PlayStation. Microsoft makes it. Come on, Microsoft's one of the biggest companies in the world, so it's got to be good with that. And a lot of it is just because of the people that I know. Everybody's on Xbox, so those got to be the three biggest reasons on why.
Okay, it's good because like I said, everybody else was PlayStation. It wasn't a PlayStation or Buzz, or you was Xbox. Gaming.
Exactly. Exactly. It's friendly competition. It's like everything else, man. It's friendly competition.
Let's see. Okay. Is it your favorite food?
Favorite food, man. That's hard, man. I love food, but I can always go for pasta. Any type of Italian dish, pasta. Alfredo, lasagna, stuff like that, for sure.
Okay. Let's see. Your favorite musical artist?
Musical artist, man. That's hard too. So many different genres. Man, you kind of stumping me with that one. I like Michael Jackson. I like sort of the kind of throwback stuff. Anything from the 70s and 80s rock wise. But overall, definitely Michael Jackson for sure.
Okay. So you have a favorite Michael Jackson song?
Definitely Billie Jean. Come on, that's a classic. That's a classic. You can't not like that song. That's a great song.
Now, what I've been told the past couple of interviews that the aux cord in the locker room is a very sink or swim position to be in.
Oh my gosh, dude! There have been some guys just destroyed by the music choice, But then there's other guys like QB1. Stephon Brown will get up there and he'll put a little R&B on, and everybody's kind of like, okay, this is nice, a little change from the rap or the country. And a lot of people don't know this, but Rob Fuentes, man, he gets on the aux cord and you have no idea what's about to play. It could be country, it could be rap, it could be pop. I'm pretty sure I heard classical one time when his phone was connected to the aux cord, and everybody's like, what is going on? That guy's crazy. That guy's crazy in the head. That guy's insane.
Wait, I gotta ask that because Noah told me now that if they're not feeling the song, they will literally take the aux cord out of the phone.
You might not find your phone. You might not find your phone if you're not playing something that everybody's vibing to. Your phone might just go missing. Never to be found again. Gets thrown into the laundry bin or hid under a cabinet or something. That's your punishment for not doing what's right and playing some good music.
Now I've been told now that Robert and Steph are solid on the aux. I've also been told that Jace Gardner not so much. Now, would that be a true fact?
Man, you're making me throw somebody under the bus. What are you doing here? Hey, you didn't hear it from me, but there's a high probability that might be the case. That might be the case. I don't know if I should be saying that. Jason's gonna show up at my house if he hears this.
I mean, because now, Noah's the one that told me, so I just want to verify it now. I gotta make sure that's a fact.
Oh my gosh, man! Can you really trust people from Carl Albert though, man? Noah, JB, Mosley, man. I don't know about that. And it's not just because I went to Piedmont, but yeah, man, it's crazy.
I don't know because Mosley came on here told me he was top 2 Madden player on the team.
No. There's four freshmen that are better than him, bro. No. Robert Givens, way better than Mosley at Madden. Noah Dobson's better than Mosley at Madden. I'm trying to think who else. I've heard Steph. I heard Steph's pretty nasty on the sticks too when it comes to Madden. But yeah, Mosley's not top 2.
Is it because Noah told me he's like 5-0 against Mosley? And that's
definitely the case, bro. Our freshman year in the dorms, that was all, you're hearing screaming in the halls. And you're like, what is going on? Somebody's getting murdered. No, it's Noah and freaking Robert playing Madden. And then, Kobe Stevens will walk in there and be like, oh, I'm going to take you guys' money. I'll come in here and run it up. Yeah. Kobe's better than Mosley.
Because Mosley came on here and was talking about how he had a playbook that was guaranteed to work.
No. That's what happens when you come from Carl Albert. You just think every play is gonna work. That's not how it works in the real world.
Oh, that's wrong. That's brutal. Yes, he did. He came on. It was so confident. He put out his gamer tag. I thought this man was really.
Stop.
I'm serious. He can't. So I thought this man was really good.
No.
He coming to find out that's not the case.
You know who I'm really interested? Man, I see Coach Donald all the time posting on Twitter, come watch Twitch and stuff. And he plays a lot of COD. I'd be interested to see Coach Donald play some Madden.
Yeah, because he told me that he's gonna try to get back more into Madden and 2K. But I know he streamed, and I think it might have been Kellen Culberson told me that Coach Doral streams.
Yeah, he was. That was one of the funniest things. That first meeting that we were talking about earlier, I'm almost positive he was like, "Hey, just a side note, does anybody know the Wi-Fi password for the quad? I'm trying to play my Xbox or PlayStation or whatever I got. I can't figure out how to hook it up to the internet." Dude, he is crazy. I was walking out of the facility the other day, and I looked down on the ground, and his UCO ID was just sitting there on the concrete. I walked that back in there. Hey, you might need this, coach. It's so funny. It really had it. Definitely, if I can say one thing about when these new coaches have gotten there, it's been a lot more fun. It's been kind of energy has been up, and it's been a lot more lighthearted. And that's what these guys kind of bring to the table. It's fun. It's fun to be up there again.
Now, I was also told by Noah. Now he tried to play some Justin Bieber one time, and it did not end well for him. Now I gotta ask. Now, has there ever been a time where maybe you might want to put something on the aux, but have decided against that because it might not end well?
Oh, every time I think about even putting my phone on there, I'm like, you know what? This probably isn't a good idea. I know what happened to the last guy that played something that nobody liked, so I'm not taking that chance. I'm smarter than that. I'm a punter. I'm way smarter than that.
And I was also told that you really can't just go over there and get your phone after it happens. You got to kind of be sneaky. Or
no,
wait.
That's what I'm telling you. Somebody sees you going to grab your phone, and it's going to end up somewhere where you don't want to stick your hand down and get it, or you're not going to be able to find it. There's got to be a punishment. You're late for weights. What do? You got to sweep the shed. You play a bad song on the aux. You lose your phone privileges for a while.
And that's brutal, though. Oh, who knew the aux cord had that much pressure?
Dude, I'm telling you, it takes a different breed to put your phone on the aux, man.
That's wrong. Okay. Honestly, now, in terms of gear, now the picture we have behind you is you got a towel, you got some hand warmers on, and some now. Now, are you somebody like Mosley and Trayvon Craig that's heavy into the gear, or are you more of just like I just need a towel and I'm good to go type thing?
Oh yeah, I am the drippiest punter in the MIAA. I can tell you that much. You know, you got guys like Ethan Sosin from Fort Hays State. You know, that guy's an Aussie. What does he know how to dress? You know, stuff like that. I'm the drippiest punter in the MIAA. This year, you're gonna see some stuff. This year, I'm gonna go back to the. This is. I'm pretty sure this is that picture behind me behind us is. That's either sophomore or junior year, and I think that is in the playoffs. But yeah, no, that game was like 34 degrees and, you know, it's spit and rain. Yeah, I don't know. It's like kicking a brick is what I compared that to, that punting day. But yeah, no, this year you're going to see some wristbands. You're going to see the tight quarter sleeve shirt. Been doing a lot of curls, try to fill out those pads a little bit more. But yeah, you'll see some drip from me.
Now, I've been told that Mosley will offer his services to anybody that.
Man, this is true story. The first time Mosley wears the same cutoff every game. He wears the same cutoff every day. I have no idea where he got it from, if it was in high school or not. Same cutoff every day, and he wears a like a sweat headband around his neck, and I've never understood that. Like, you know, in middle school, the girls used to wear those like choker necklaces, and I'm like, Mosley, is that what you're going for? You know, the guy gets on TikTok and becomes a little bit famous, and he just starts dressing. He starts dressing crazy. It's like, what are you doing, bro?
Well, I know, because I know when I asked about it, you know, he said that he wasn't willing to help. You know, anybody that needs help with the gear, they come see him. He makes sure that you know. So I just
if you want a drip advice from the team, top 3 drippiest players are definitely Steph, Trayvon, and I'm gonna go with Kobe. Kobe Stevenson's got some drip on the team. You know,
really? Okay, now now when I talked to Kobe, I know last year he was pretty plain. Now he did tell me he was gonna try to wear some gear this year. Now, I didn't know if he actually had started that because, you know, I mean, last year he literally was just like he had on high socks and.
Hey, the simple though, you know, you can't go wrong with a classic look like that.
No, I mean you can, but it just looked weird because the rest of the secondary, you know, you got the towel, you got the band,
the band,
the band, and then there was just Kobe. Like, is it like a freshman thing where they just like haze
exactly,
like no.
It's the rite of passage. You're just not allowed to wear anything. You got to go out there and just your pants and jersey and pads. That's it. You know, where sometimes you get to wear your helmet. You know, not even all the time. So they make you stand on it on the sidelines or something like that. But yeah, no, I think Kobe looked good last year. Kobe played good last year, man. Kobe was a dog last year for sure.
He did. I was very impressed by him. He was kind of thrown in there, and you know, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Did a solid job.
He was like Landry's protege, man. Landry was hard on him, but Kobe always answered. Kobe was a dog for sure.
Let's see. Well, Well, do you have any pregame routines that you normally do?
Oh yeah, you got to get the pregame stretch. You got to go into the weight room, kind of roll out a little bit, stretch, kind of get the blood, flowing a little bit, because we go out there, the specs go out there pretty early, and this is kind of what I feel like kind of hurt me a little bit last year. We warmed up way too much last year. I'd kick 20 balls before the game. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, your leg's tired already. Like, why are you doing this? Stop kicking footballs. Like, go sit down or something. But yeah, so that's another change you're going to see this year. My warm up routine, I'll hit 10, 15 punts, get the rhythm, the groove, and then I'm wait till the game. That's when the cannon's going to come out and start launching balls, hitting nukes.
See, well, I guess my final question for you would be, do you have a message to those that might still be on the fence about coming to give you all a chance this year, about what they can expect to see if they were to come see you all play?
The first thing is, this is a completely different team than it was last year. And I think that's going to be proven the first couple of weeks. And I think that's when people start to notice, you go 3-0 the first 3 weeks and people go, huh, that doesn't usually happen here. And that's when people start coming to the games. And, I have a tweet out there that, I added like every Edmond high school, the Edmond Chamber of Commerce. And it was during the state games last year, the high school state game. Every Saturday in Edmond or Thursday, whenever the day that we play should look like that. If you're a football at any of the Edmond schools, you need to come watch this because, this is the next step for you. This is something that you can learn from. If you're a parent in Edmond with little kids, let them come up here and run around on the hills and you get to watch a football game doing it. It's win-win. They sell our own alcohol at these games. Come and, enjoy that. But it's just, the environment, I think a lot of stuff about football that people don't really understand is the fans have a big impact on games. If you've got, you go to Northwest Missouri, it was 40,000 people on hit. You couldn't find a place to even stand to watch that game. And that's a reason that's part of a reason why they're really good. The fan base is great. And, they bring energy, you're up by a ton, those fans keep on and keep on. And I always remember from our away games, the student sections at like Fort Hays State and Emporia and stuff like that, they were big. People came and watched the games and that, brought energy to those teams, of course. But it also gets into your opponent's head. I remember some things being said on the sidelines to opposing team players that I was like, I've never heard somebody say that to somebody before. And I've got a funny story. We are at Pitt State, right? And so it's like second down, third down or something. And, we have that kicking net and it's like angled like this more for kickers, punters, it doesn't have that overhang, like kind of canopy thing that where we can really kick into it. And I hit one and I didn't have my helmet on, I'm just warming up and I hit one and it hit the net and it came back and hit me in the face. And those kids ate me up. Oh my gosh. I heard some horrible things, bro. And oh my gosh, it was horrible. But that's a part of football and that's a big part of it. So, people that see this, come watch us play. Give us a chance. Let us show you what we've been doing. And I think you'll be surprised. And that's for, adults, kids, football players, teachers in Edmond, workers in Edmond. Come watch a football game. Don't go to OSU. Don't go to OU. Come to Edmond and watch your football team.
Yeah, I know that was a point for Coach Dorrell's intro press conference was trying to make people understand that it's Edmond's team, like making it more accessible. And I look at this past basketball season, that game where the men upset Northwest Missouri and the fans storm the court. And I'm like, see, this should be the norm. Like I get we're a commuter school. I get it's not like you're in the middle of nowhere like you are at most of the other schools in our conference. But like we got the new stadium now. We got the upgrades. We got the new turf. They're building the new visiting stands. Got the waterfall. I mean, you got the facilities. It's just getting people to come past week one and homecoming. I think has always been our problem because that first home game crowd is always great, and then it tails off, and then homecoming crowd is great, and then it tails off again. And so, like, we can just get like a consistently good crowd for the 5-6 games. I think that it will do wonders because it's kind of.
Yeah, and I'll use this opportunity right now, man. I had a great idea. Fill the hill. That's what they need to do. They need to sell cheaper tickets and go bring a blanket and sit out on the hills at that south end zone. Go sit by the waterfall. Enjoy the the ambiance of that. And they should be there should be family packages sold and stuff like that because we're a good football team. We're, I hate when people are like, oh, it's crazy the difference between, D1 and D2. I've got buddies. I had a buddy from high school that went and played at OU. The only difference between D1 and D2 is size and speed. That's the only difference. It's the same level of football. Size and speed is the only difference. Our conference, it's enjoyable football. There are games where it's, high scoring games, good offense, stuff like that. And then, there's games like I would, kind of compare to, Big Ten games, defense is king and, low scoring games, good defense, interceptions, sacks, a lot of punting, stuff like that. But there's a lot of football for a lot of fans and we just got to get them here. And another thing, I would have if the coaches do this, and I hope they do it, because I think I've mentioned it before, but like Coach Doral, Coach Donald, even the GAs, you know, guys like Coach Tweehouse and stuff like that, they should be going to these high schools around here and, you know, talking to the football coaches. My defensive coordinator in high school at Piedmont is the head coach at Memorial now. So, Edmond Memorial. So, like, you know, guys like that should be something cool that those coaches do. You know, hey, football team, we're coming to watch, you know, the Broncos on Saturday, clear your calendars. And then, you know, that turns into, hey, all of Edmond Memorial, come hang out at, you know, Chad Richardson Stadium on this Saturday. I know you guys got nothing better to do in high school, and things like that. It really is just getting people there. And I think the administration is going to do more, you know, these coming years to get people at these games, which that's exciting, because it's a lot more fun to play in front of a bunch of people. I know like that Northwest Missouri game. Yeah, there were some nerves playing in front of that many people, but it was fun. It was loud. You know, people were watching you play football. It wasn't just, you know, oh, there's, you know, 100-ish people here, you know, and coming from guys that are coming from big schoolers, because, you know, Noah Dobson, you know, guys from Carl Albert, me, you know, we played in front of a decent amount of people in 5A, but, you know, all the guys that are coming from those huge Tulsa schools, you know, Booker T, Union, Jinx, Broken Arrow, you know, they're playing in front of 1,000 people, more than 1,000 people at times. And that's fun. That's enjoyable. And I think that makes you play better. I really do think that makes you play better, playing in front of that many people.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just is getting people there. Because like I used to be one of those, I see D2, I'm like, it's probably not good football. And I went, my first game was I was with the student paper, and I was blown away. I was like, holy cow, like, this is really good football, some really good athletes. And then when you talk to guys, you see their stories. You know, like a lot of these dudes have D1 offers. A lot of these guys are D1 talent. It's just maybe grades here. Maybe they felt more comfortable here. Like, there's a lot of reasons. And so, like, I think if you get people there and you give them like a good, I think our problem is like that first game is almost like make or break, which is unfortunate because in our conference, right, like there is no tune-up game. I mean, like unless you draw either Lincoln, Northeastern, or Missouri Southern, like you're facing somebody good like immediately right out the gate. So that margin for error is very thin. So like if you don't put on a show in a season opener, it's going to be tough, I think, to get people, you know, back. So I'm just hoping that, you know, and I'm thinking it should, just because Coach Grohl's here, they're going to see this man win multiple national championships. I think that alone would get more people in the door. It's just trying to be able to sustain that throughout the course of the season. It's kind of always been, you know, tough for us. I think the last time would be 2018 was good, but that was the year we went like 7-1 down the stretch. So, you know, it's just getting those, you know, people to come back and getting the students more involved. But no, I agree. I mean, it's really good football, and I think you know, if people that just look at the two after the D and not the overall picture, you know, they're gonna miss out on quality football.
I mean, and you talked about the talent thing a minute ago. Stephon Brown, he might be the best quarterback in the state. When you really look at things, when you look at, you know, athleticism, ability to throw the ball, run the ball, you know, he might be the best quarterback in the state. Our D line is got to be the best in all of D2. You know, Slater, Rob, guys like Mike, and I'm trying to think more of interior guys. Zane Adams, Hunter Largent. You know, those guys. These are extremely athletic big men. Our secondary is great, and you know the talent's here. The talent is definitely here. And what you said about the students ago, you know, UCO is like the third biggest college in the state. You know, like enrollment wise, you know, where are those 15,000 kids that are going here to school, and kids or adult, whatever you want, you know, just people in general. Where are those people on Saturdays? Because if it was me, if I could drive 5 minutes and go see a football game that's going to be basically the same as, you know, an OSU or OU game, rather than drive an hour to Norman or an hour to Stillwater, I'd stay in Edmond, 100%.
And I agree. I mean, I think people also realize, you know, a lot of guys transfer down, don't play. I remember 2019, we had an Oregon transfer. He was like he was Under Armour All-American. and he ended up being like third string running back. He ended up playing more at Oregon than he did here, just because he was beat out by two other really good running backs. And so I think like if it's just I think more people just see D2 and then they see OU and OSU and it's like, oh well, it's better football, but not necessarily. I mean, you know, it's one of those. It's gonna be a constant battle. I just think that, you know, at some point, I think we will get more consistent crowds. It's just going to take some time. I think once they, you know, I think it's going to take, you know, once they see this is different. Like you said, I feel like it wasn't really a focal point. It was more of like, well, I hope we get a good crowd today.
Right.
But I feel like this kind of now being like more proactive about trying to go out and entice people to, you know, come, because like I said, you know, the environment from the season opener to that final game, I mean, you can tell there was a big difference, and not in a good way. So, you know, you know.
And, you know, another huge thing is, you know, the money. You see the, you know, the D1s have the TV contracts, and that brings in a lot of money. And I know UCO doesn't have the best, you know, budget stuff going on right now. You know, think of if I was in administration right now, I'd be thinking, man, how do we make more money if we're having budget problems and things like that? Football's an outlet for that, you know. You get a bunch of people coming and buying, you know, tickets, season tickets, you know, suite tickets, stuff like that. That's a whole nother source of income for you that, you know, could help out in other areas. But, you know, we'll see what happens. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for this year and the years to come.
Yeah, same. I'm really excited for that home opener. I mean, I know it'll be a good crowd regardless, because that, you know, the first game always is. But I mean, I'm really excited to see, you know, that first in-person look. And the first game's a road game, but that first like in-person look to see how looking. Now I'm really excited, because everybody I've talked to so far, there seems to be a new energy, new determination to prove last year wasn't indicative of the talent. So like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing what they put on the field. But you know, Bo, I appreciate you taking time to come on a Saturday. I know, you know, it's tough on weekends, so I appreciate you taking time out of Saturday. And you know, if you ever want to come back on, you're more than welcome to, and I'm wishing you the best the rest of the summer and into fall and the rest of the season.
For sure, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. Thank you, Bo.